The air in the cave was thick and wet, a foul cocktail of unwashed bodies, blood, and the cloying sweetness of decay. For weeks, this limestone cavern in southern Okinawa had been a makeshift hospital, a tomb for the living. My name is Aiko Tanaka. I was 17. I was not a soldier, but a student of the Himeyuri Corps, the Star Lily Corps, tasked with nursing the soldiers of the 32nd Army. Now, in late June 1945, there were no more lessons, only the relentless percussion of American artillery, the typhoon of steel, shaking the very bones of the island. Outside, General Simon Bolivar Buckner Jr.'s 10th Army was grinding our defenses to dust. Inside, we listened to the whispers. Whispers of our commander, General Mitsuru Ushijima, preparing for his final honorable act of seppuku in his headquarters at Mabuni Hill. Whispers of his order for the remaining troops. Gyokusai, to shatter like a jewel, to fight until the last man, the last woman, the last child. There would be no surrender. Surrender was the ultimate shame. The propaganda films we'd been shown were seared into my mind. The American demons, the Kichikubeihei, with their hairy arms and monstrous appetites. They would not just kill us. They would defile us in ways worse than death. The Army had given us each a Type 99 hand grenade. One for the enemy, the grim-faced sergeant had instructed, and one for yourself. It is a cleaner death. My grenade was cold and heavy in the pocket of my stained smock. Beside me, a soldier with a gangrenous leg wound moaned deliriously, calling for his mother. I had no more bandages, no more medicine. All I had was this small, iron promise of a final defiant act. The shelling stopped. The sudden silence was more terrifying than the noise. Then a new sound. Scraping rocks, shouts in a guttural, alien language. They were here. My friend Fumiko looked at me, her eyes wide with a terror that mirrored my own. Her hand went to her pocket. My fingers tightened around my grenade. This was it. The moment to protect our honor, to join our ancestors with our purity intact. The blinding glare of a flashlight cut through the darkness, and shadows of giants fell over us. The guttural shouts echoed off the wet rock, but then a new voice cut through the chaos, speaking clear, perfect Japanese. Date koi, anzen da, mizu tokusuri ga aru. Come out, it is safe. We have water and medicine. The voice was a deep fissure in our reality. It was not the growl of a monster. It was calm, measured. A soldier, near the entrance, his face a mask of bloody defiance, screamed back, "Inu! Dog! Traitor! Do not listen to his lies!" He turned his wild eyes to us. "For the Emperor! Now!" But the voice continued patiently. "My name is Corporal David Miller. I am with the American Army. We know you are hurt. We are not here to harm you. The battle is over. General Ushijima is gone. There is no more honor in dying in this hole. General Ushijima. Gone?" The words hit me harder than any shell. If the head of the dragon had fallen, what were we, the scales, supposed to do? The soldier's delirious moans faded into a final soft sigh. He was gone. The cave was getting emptier. Fumiko's breath hitched in a sob. She looked from the dark entrance to the grenade in her hand, then to me. Her eyes asked the question I could not answer. "Please," the voice pleaded. "We are Japanese too. Our parents were born in Kagoshima, in Hiroshima. We do not want to see more of our people die." It was this that broke me. Not the fear, not the hunger, but the idea of a Japanese face on the other side of that light. A seed of doubt, poisonous and potent, sprouted in the barren soil of my indoctrination. What if the films were lies? What if the ultimate shame was not surrender, but dying for a lie? "Do it, Aiko-chan," Fumiko hissed, her knuckles white. "Together, I looked at the cold iron in my palm, then back at the light. I couldn't. The certainty was gone. Fumiko gave a sharp cry of betrayal and grief. She squeezed her eyes shut, turned away, and curled into a small ball. The sound was not loud. A dull, muffled thump and a soft tearing noise. A puff of smoke and the coppery smell of fresh blood filled our small space. I stared, frozen, at what was left of my friend. The giants with flashlights were rushing in now, shouting words I didn't understand. A rough hand snatched the grenade from my limp fingers. Other hands lifted me, pulling me from the darkness of the cave into the blinding, terrifying light of day. I didn't struggle. I was no longer a student, no longer a nurse. I was a prisoner, a property of the demons. The back of the American truck was open to the sky. The ride was a jolting, dizzying blur of destruction. What was once a landscape of villages and sugarcane fields was now a pockmarked alien world of craters and splintered trees. I sat with a dozen other women and girls from the caves, a silent, huddled mass of filth and shame. We were Horio, prisoners of war, a word that had no place in our vocabulary except as the ultimate disgrace. I felt the stares of the American soldiers we passed, not of lust, but of a strange, weary curiosity, as if we were exotic animals captured in a hunt. We were taken to a sprawling city of tents under a relentless sun, enclosed by the glint of barbed wire. This was our cage. Here, the process began. It was not the brutal torture we expected, but something far more bewildering. Bureaucracy. We were lined up. A medic looked at our wounds with an impersonal gaze. We were given water from a large canvas bag that tasted of chemicals, and then a small, waxy cardboard box. Inside were crackers, a tin of processed meat, and a cigarette. I couldn't eat. My stomach, shrunken from starvation, recoiled at the foreign smell. Corporal David Miller, the Nisei translator, was there. His Japanese was flawless, but his uniform was the enemy's, his face a constant walking contradiction. He tried to explain the process, but we stared through him, our faces hard masks of hatred. We would give them nothing. Not our names, not our gratitude, nothing. We were already dead. This was just a waiting room for hell. Then, we were herded by a female military policewoman towards a screened-off enclosure. The smell hit us first. Strong lye soap and the sharp chemical odor of DDT powder. They handed each of us a small rough towel and a bar of soap. We stood there, shivering in the humid heat, clutching the towels to our chests like shields. This was it, the moment of vulnerability. Through the screen, I could see the silhouettes of male soldiers moving about the camp. My heart hammered against my ribs. Corporal Miller appeared at the entrance with a tall American medic. The medic gestured towards us and spoke in a low, tired voice. Miller listened, his face impassive. He then turned to us. He took a breath, and his voice was flat, an order stripped of any emotion. The doctor says you must all be cleaned. There is typhus, lice. It is for your health. He paused, and his eyes briefly met mine before flitting away. You must wash. Now. Tauru o tote kudasai. Take off your towel. Take off all your clothes. A collective gasp sucked the air from the enclosure. This was it. It was happening exactly as they had warned us. The kindness, the water, the food. It was all a lie, a prelude to the defilement we had been promised. The girls around me began to weep silently, their bodies shaking. We clutched our small, pathetic towels, the last shred of dignity we possessed. This was the moment our purity would be stolen, and we had failed to die to protect it. Tears streamed down the face of the girl next to me, but she made no sound. We were a frozen tableau of terror, clutching our flimsy towels, waiting for the demons to storm our last bastion of cloth and skin. My mind raced, searching for a weapon, a shard of rock, my own teeth, anything to fight with. But my limbs were leaden, paralyzed by the certainty of what was to come. This was the punishment for my cowardice in the cave. Instead of the leering male soldiers we braced for, the flap of the enclosure was pushed aside by the same American woman who had led us here. She was not smiling. Her face was a mask of stern efficiency. Behind her stood two more women in the same drab uniform. There were no men. The MP barked an order in English, then gestured impatiently. "Drop the towel." One by one, with the slow, agonizing reluctance of the condemned, we let the towels fall to the dirt floor. We stood naked, exposed not to lustful eyes, but to the indifferent clinical gaze of other women. It was a different kind of humiliation, a reduction. We were not objects of desire, but objects of process. We were sprayed with cold water from a hose and scrubbed raw with the harsh lye soap until our skin burned. Then came the powder. One of the women used a hand-pumped sprayer to blast us with a cloud of white, chemical-smelling dust that clung to our wet skin and filled our lungs. It was DDT, an insecticide. They were treating us like vermin. After the powdering, we were handed simple, shapeless cotton shifts and led out of the enclosure. The sun was hot on my damp hair. I saw Corporal Miller standing nearby, deliberately looking away. He must have seen the terror on our faces when he gave the order. He must have known what we were thinking. As I passed, he spoke, his voice low and for my ears alone. "Typhusu," he said, using the Japanese word for typhus. "It killed thousands on Saipan. The medics, they were afraid of an epidemic here." He paused. "General Buckner was killed by artillery a few days ago. Death has no preference for uniform." I stopped. I looked at this man, this traitor with a Japanese face, and saw not malice, but a deep, profound weariness. His general was dead. Our general was dead. The demons died. The gods died. All that was left were tired, dirty people covered in the same dust. I clutched the clean, rough fabric of the shift. It was not the brutal violation I had steeled myself for. It was a cold, methodical, impersonal cleansing. They had not wanted our bodies for pleasure. They had feared them as sources of disease. The propaganda had been a lurid, violent fantasy. The reality was a bureaucratic, sanitary procedure. And in that moment, the image of Fumiko clutching her grenade flashed in my mind, so vivid it stole my breath. A new, more terrible question bloomed in the wasteland of my thoughts. If this was a lie, what else was? Days bled into one another in the hazy heat of the prison camp. The routine was one of dull, listless survival. We were given tasks, laundry, kitchen duty, which we performed with the silent mechanical compliance of automatons. The burning hatred had cooled into a brittle, hollow shell. It was too exhausting to hate when your entire world had been pulverized into dust, when every belief you held had been proven to be a phantom. One evening, as I sat staring at the intricate web of a spider near my cot, Corporal Miller approached. He held 2 tin cups of hot, weak tea. He offered one to me. For a long moment I stared at it, the steam rising like a departing soul. Taking anything from him felt like another small betrayal, another concession. But I was so cold, a deep, internal chill that had nothing to do with the temperature. I took the cup. Our fingers did not touch. "It is a difficult thing," he said, looking out at the rows of tents glowing in the sunset. "To be told the world is one way, and then to see it is another." I did not answer. I sipped the tea. It was bitter, but warm. "My parents were interned in a camp called Manzanar in California," he continued quietly. "Barbed wire, guard towers, just like this. They were told they were a threat. that they couldn't be trusted. Their own country treated them like the enemy because of their faces. My face. He looked at me then, and for the first time, I saw the ghost in his eyes, a sorrow that mirrored my own. I joined the army to prove them wrong, to prove I was an American. Now I am here, speaking my parents' language to convince my parents' people not to die for lies. He gave a short, mirthless laugh. The world is complicated. He left me with the tea and my thoughts. I looked down at my hands, clean and pale against the rough fabric of the shift. These were the hands that had held a grenade meant to rip my own body apart. Fumiko's face appeared in my mind, not contorted in terror, but as I remembered her from school, laughing, her hair tied back with a blue ribbon. She had died to protect her honor from a threat that never existed. She had followed the orders. She had shattered like a jewel. But for what? Her death wasn't honorable. It was a mistake, a terrible, pointless waste born from a lie. That night, I wrote on a scrap of paper from a cracker box. We were told our spirit was a fortress, but my spirit is a house of empty rooms. The demons are not monsters. They are just men, tired and afraid of disease. The traitors are not dogs, but sons of Japan lost between two worlds. Fumiko is a ghost, and I am a ghost who was too afraid to die. I was told to protect my purity. But what is purity in a world made of dirt and lies? When they told me to take off my towel, I thought I would lose everything. Instead, I lost only my illusions, and I am beginning to understand that is the most profound loss of all. My war had ended in that cave, but as the sun set over Okinawa, casting long shadows that looked like grasping hands, I knew a different, longer war had just begun inside me. The war to learn how to live in a world where there were no more demons, no more gods, only questions.